Hey, if you've got a side hustle, then this is the video for you. It could stop you getting into trouble. It could save you some money. HMRC here in the UK, the tax people, they have brought out some new rules recently. And those platforms that we love to sell on, eBay, Etsy, Vinted, Airbnb, Depop, they now have to surrender your details if you are making over £1,000 on their platform. If you are making more than £1,000, then you're going to have to put in a self-assessment form. It doesn't mean you're necessarily paying tax, but if you already have a job, then that money is going to be included as part of your income. So therefore, you could be paying tax on it. Now, I'm recording this on the 31st of January, and this is a big day because it is the tax deadline. If you have not got your tax in, your forms in by the end of today, then you could be in for a fine. And that starts at £100, but it can head up from there. When I started this YouTube channel, I did it because of sort of personal reasons. I wanted to motivate my daughter. I wanted to give her some inspiration to start her own channel. Something that she wanted to do. She just needed a bit more drive to do it, and it became a bit of a bet as to who would become monetized first. And if you want to watch that video, actually, it's on the channel there. It's the first video that I did. But as I've become more involved in this process, I'm quite enjoying it. I'm now looking for a reason to keep this channel going and try and find a niche, as you might say, or a niche, as some other people would say. And so, looking at my background, I am not a qualified accountant. I just want to make that very clear. So I always advise you to take your own tax advice. But we have been in business with this particular business for 20 years. We're in our 20th year now, actually. So, and also been self-employed for most of my working life. So I'm used to paying tax. Whether we like it or not, it's something that you have to pay. And you give that money to the tax man and you hope that the government are going to do good things with it. But hey, we all have to pay it. So if you have this side hustle and you're worried about whether or not you're going to have to pay it, then if you're making over £1,000, so say you have a YouTube channel, you're making over £1,000 in your YouTube ads or sponsorship as well. It could come from a number of places, affiliations. Then you now need to do a self-assessment form. Now, it doesn't mean that you're paying tax on that £1,000. It's your tax threshold in this country is £12,570. So say you have another job and say that job makes you that tax threshold and you then make £1,500 from side hustles, then that adds on to your tax threshold and therefore you probably will be paying tax. But the less tax you pay, the better for you. And you need to make sure that you're looking at the expenses that you have for this channel. So say you buy yourself a new mobile phone and you're using that mobile phone, as most of us are, to make your videos, then that is an expense. So part of the payment that you have for that mobile phone is going to go down to expenses. Say you're working from home and you're using one of those rooms as a studio and you're turning on the heating, you're turning on the electricity in the house to use that, then part of that is also going to go into expenses as well. So if you have £10,000 that you're earning from your side hustles and you have £5,000 worth of expenses because you're paying someone for editing, you're maybe paying for editing software, you have subscriptions on certain products, software that you use to make your videos, then that is going to go against your actual tax. So it's worth keeping a hold of those receipts, folks. Say you drive somewhere, you're driving to an exhibition, a trade show, and you're recording while you're there, that is part of your video, then you can claim the expenses for your travel, for your parking, for your food while you're out as well. So it's worth keeping a hold of those receipts, folks. And maybe it's a good idea to start thinking about using some software to do your tax as well. Xero, QuickBooks, these are very good pieces of software where you can put your information in. If you have a receipt, you take a photo of your receipt on the Xero, we use Xero, on your Xero software, and it will register that as part of your expenses. But I always advise, if it's something new to you, then you need to maybe sit down with an accountant and maybe spend half an hour of their time just to get a feel for whether or not you're going to be liable for something, because you don't want to be stung at the last minute. You don't want to suddenly on the 31st of January think, oh my God, do I need to pay tax? Do I need to put in some sort of self-assessment form? You need to be on the ball. You need to be thinking about this now. And hey, if you're starting a YouTube channel, just start saving those receipts, because you might well find that it's halfway through the year that you're thinking, I should have saved those receipts when I first started, for that equipment that I bought. So just future-proof yourself. We all want to build and grow our channels. You might be having it as a hobby, but at some point, you'd like to be monetized. And it's also other side hustles as well. These platforms that we sell on, maybe Etsy, eBay, they now have to start giving reports to HMRC, the tax people, about who is making a certain amount of money. So if you're making over that £1,000 threshold, if you're selling more than 30 items on one of the selling platforms, they now have to give your information about what you've sold, your personal details. They have to give that to HMRC. So be prepared, folks. If you're selling secondhand clothes, if you're just clearing out your wardrobe, this isn't such a big problem. But if you are buying stock, if you're going to charity shops with the intention of buying products and then selling it on these platforms, then that is something that they're looking at. That is what you're going to have to start looking at paying tax on. But don't forget, if you're buying something from a charity shop with the intention of selling it, then you need to save those receipts, because it's seen as an expense. That's part of your stock. So just to be aware, folks, just to think about your side hustle as a business. Now, as you can probably see, the room behind me here, this is our workshop. This is where we work. We are a design and print company. You can see over here is one of the printers that we use. So, and on the other side of that wall, there are some bigger printers as well. We do large format printing. This is something that that I'm going to be bringing onto the channel, talking about this sort of thing. We do a bit of drop shipping as well for people. So it might be nice to hear that from the horse's mouth. So don't forget to subscribe. Leave your comments if you have any questions about your little side hustles. And as I say, I am not a tax expert here, but I do understand a bit about taxes because of how we've paid taxes over the years ourselves. But I'd like to hear your comments on your own side hustles, what it is that you do. Have you built it? Have you grown it? So you have to actually start to see it more as a business and not just a little hobby, a side hustle. Have you got to that stage now where you're thinking, geez, I really need to get an accountant here? And I'm going to be talking more on the channel about the business side of YouTube, the business side of side hustles. So a lot of ideas for side hustles as well. So I'd love you to subscribe and follow the journey here. I'm gonna document how we're building this YouTube channel here and the lessons that I'm learning. It'll be interesting to see how this journey progresses, and I'd love you to come along for it. So please do subscribe, do leave some comments, do put a little thumbs up there, a little like. That's always nice. I always appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next video. But keep an eye on those taxes, folks. Bye now.